Hello, everyone. Welcome to the update for the server runtime seg for the week of 26th of October 22. Made a bit of progress this week. Primarily worked on documentation and also finalizing the architecture and putting the architecture components together in the documentation as I was pending for a number of weeks. We've also added a support for the Google Cloud DNS provider. So now you can specify Google Cloud as a DNS provider instead of GoDaddy. That's what we currently supported. We also are now doing a check to see if the runtime already exists. So if a runtime already exists, we'll open an existing IDE window instead of actually always provisioning a new one. And we're also giving now users the option to select an IDE. I've also added a unit and integration tests. So now there's a higher test coverage than there was before. Okay, so the first thing we've done is we now have a landing page for the server runtime seg on in the handbook. I've also updated details in the actual README for the custom control plane. So now you can see how to get started and deploy this on your own machine. You have details on what the architecture looks like, and also some complicated parts of the project, such as things like how authentication works and how provisioning works with Kubernetes. So all these details have now been documented. Also, things like how do you start developing and run tests and things like that. So that's all now there in the repository, so people can try it out. What I also have now is so I'm back to a repository here. I want to show you that we can now open an existing workspace if one already exists. So if I go ahead and start up and click on an existing sort of project and ref that I've worked on before. So I've worked on main already. So what you can see is that it opens up this screen now showing you that you can open your existing IDE. So if I click on open existing, it'll go ahead and really open the IDE from where I left off, right? So I can start working on the code right away. However, I also have the option of creating a new one. So I can go ahead and say create new, and I can go ahead and create a new IDE. The second enhancement here was the fact that you can actually select an IDE. So now you can have multiple options. So let me create a new one, and this is Vim with Golang. I can go ahead and create this, and this will create new IDE for me. So now I can go ahead and select an option for an IDE. So the ID is now created. I can go ahead and log in. And because I had selected VI, it takes me straight away to the terminal. So I can go ahead and show you what makes it detect multiple IDEs. So in my GitLab experiment camel, I now have specified multiple images. And so each one then corresponds to an IDE. And just like any other time, I can go ahead and modify my code and run my code. The last thing I want to show you is that we now are supporting Google as a DNS provider. So all new IDEs and all new DNS entries are now registered with Google. So that's it for the updates for this week. Next week, I'm going to be focused on getting SSH connections enabled with the IDE, and also going to start looking at def file as a potential format to describe what the IDE can look like. Thank you for listening.